And we're back. Rob and Joe here with the Coast to Coast Traders podcast. Joe, how's it going, man?
It's been better, dude. It's definitely been better. Rough week. I am at 0 days since I last blew any funded accounts. How about you?
About the same, my friend. It's crazy how easy it is to backslide into some old habits, lose some discipline and stuff, huh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking about this earlier, and I was trying to think about we try to determine what's changed, But
Yeah, I mean, we can blame the market, for the volatility and stuff, but there are definitely still A plus setups that we can be patient for.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I'm just getting caught up with different things, and sometimes just getting very focused on okay, well, this happened, right? But then sometimes not taking into account the whole context, and then when the whole context happens, be like, okay, well, it's this, so and oftentimes just getting very easily caught up.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
tough.
getting some tunnel vision myself.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And even just with things with the orb, for example, or VWAP, for example, I remember thinking, at the point of this 10-minute candle right here, and I know it's still dojied and it closed under the 10-minute 20, but I remember thinking okay, well, we bounced off VWAP, so
Mhm.
you know we bounced off VWAP, we closed back above the orb here, so we're still holding up, and we didn't close under this 10-minute 50 EMA, and I was like, okay, the pivot to the left held, and blah 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 blah, but I thought that maybe we were coming down and we are gonna go like this, and then obviously,
Yeah.
obviously you see what happened next, right? We broke the candle's high, and then it flushed, and it's just well,
Yeah.
obviously I could have just stayed short.
Yeah, for sure. I was talking to a different trader around that same time because they've been trying to go long, or not necessarily long, but today it was long, but they've been wanting to trade exclusively with the 10-minute EMAs.
Okay.
And they were a little frustrated because they felt like that just lately their runners, they haven't been able to get a runner.
Yeah.
But the trade overall was very good because it was right around where you were talking, like the 1240 to 1250 10-minute candle on the opening range. They
Yep.
went long there for and they scaled. So I don't know what their full position was, but it was micros. But they got two scales for like 10 and 15 points, I think.
Yeah.
And then the runner was like break even, and I was just like, okay, well, first of all, excellent job scaling, and then good job. Um, oh, you know what? My bad. It was the 1210 candle and the 1220
Well.
before the
Oh,
orb.
okay, right here off the 10-minute
Yeah,
20 EMA right here.
yeah, my bad. Because the other candles, those are below the EMAs.
Yeah.
But yeah, so right where you got circled there.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I'm like, yeah, dude, excellent job, scaling. And it's just one of those situations. Like me personally, I haven't been able to get a runner recently. It's like I have to just get that base hit, whether it's 15 or 20 points and stuff.
Mm.
And so I was just kind of like just chit chatting with him and saying, maybe that's something that you should consider if the probability of you getting that base hit versus the home run, if you're just seeing that more often than not, then just get the base hits for now until you feel like the market changes.
Yeah.
or
Well,
or maybe after you've got a couple of profits and then hold one for higher later on.
right. Well, I mean, I guess it depends, right? What your thought process is, and what your strategy is, but I think that's
Hmm.
the whole concept of a runner is you accept at least it should be, you accept that okay, I have this contract, I'm currently up 15 points, 20 points, whatever it is, 10 points, and then
Yeah.
I'm accepting, a break even stop,
Right.
hoping for more. And so at that point, if you have a 10-point scale and a 15-point scale and you've scaled out, if you only had 3 cons, let's say, and you scale out the first two, you know, you still have essentially the original risk. If your original risk was 15 points and you put a break even stop, you have that original risk now. And you're just saying I'm hoping this goes for more, but I'm okay risking the 15 points that I've earned on this one contract because 2/3 of the position is green. you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So like I don't think there should be like frustration in terms of not getting a runner. Like it sucks, but if if that's the frustration point, then just set a third target and call it a day, right? Like one off at
Yeah,
10, one off at 15. Okay, now 2/3 are out, so the stop goes to break even, and it either goes to 20 or it comes back to
right.
0. And if that happens enough times, you should be able to just say, like, theoretically, okay, I've last X number of trades, this has happened X number of times. So either I should just take the other one off at 15, or like, depending on what the data is, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah, so they were in agreement, I think, when we talked about that. And I don't know how they're gonna portion that out. If it's gonna just be like all in, and I was even suggesting that maybe just take it with the minis instead of the micros, because then it's just less mental capital
mhm.
and less commissions. I mean, the commissions aren't going to be a big impact on anybody's P&L unless you're like going ham on the chart
Right.
and got the machine gun prints all over the place. But if you just have the one and done type of trade,
Yeah.
then it's just like you're you're spending less mental capital looking at the charts, hoping for that runner, and then all the other emotions about what if it's going to do this and that, or should I start flipping and getting greedier, wanting more and more and more, and just one and done, and then move on to the next trade or just take a break or something.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been extra challenging lately. Like, I didn't know this was the exact number, 57%, but I was actually like driving home. And I remember
Hmm.
thinking, like, when we were down here, I remember thinking, oh, like, even as much as we've dropped, this is only like a 60%, ATR day. Like, this seems like a
Oh yeah.
huge dump. And it's just like, not that big of a dump. It's only been 60%, like,
Hmm.
it's not big by any means. And so sometimes the days are contracted, or sometimes you get these big moves overnight, and then we don't trade them, and then you come to the New York session and it's just like chop city, and then maybe in the afternoon you get this like move, oh, finally
Hmm.
we're gonna make a move.
Yeah. What was your perspective coming into the market, like in your pre-market prep and all that stuff?
Like for just the Nasdaq and for ES, my perspective
Hmm.
was I was really keen on watching the previous day's high. And so like I did my normal thing like I do, which is after as soon as we open, like usually in pre-market I have like my gap that I'm marking from the close to the open. And so I will, like, if it's going to be a decent amount, I'll draw a fib and I'll just kind of leave it there. And then so what I do is just connect it to where the opening print was and look.
Yeah.
And at this point, like I saw this one like wick down into the golden zone of that, and it just started to like pop back up explosively, which is also very close to what yesterday's high is right here. So
Yeah. Exactly.
so that's what kind of was the level that I was there interested in. And then I took it when we reclaimed VWAP. And this was one of the trades that I took that, like, ultimately, because I didn't take a good entry, it like impacted my execution on the trade. So like it's gonna seem stupid now, but you know, as this was pushing up, dude, like I took a long entry. I think it was like up here, and I remember
Hmm.
thinking like, oh, okay, like we made this wick, we came down, and we were just like dancing around right here for like maybe 15 seconds. So I took the
Yeah.
entry and then literally watched it go down, and it must, whatever it was, I almost got stopped by a point. So it went to 17. So my entry was here at 32, right?
Hmm.
Like not terrible until you see that with that candle printed, like, and I remember just thinking like, dude, like you should have just waited, or you should have just like set a bid on VWAP, or like in this area, like where it's most likely to come down. Even still, you probably would have been fine to just set a bid right here, like on this orange level, right? Because you could see how that was important. Any of those things. But instead, I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, I waited, click, I'm in, like it was like, patience, but like a really crappy version of patience, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's the patience of a 3-year-old. That's how I would describe my trading lately. Is perfect. Is I have the patience of a 3-year-old. So, um,
Yeah.
So it moved up. It moved very close to filling. If I was in, okay, where was I in? Again, at 17. I was thinking it was in at 32. So, bro, can you hear that plane? No, probably
I
not.
heard a plane, but I'm right next to an airport, so I could have coincidentally have heard a helicopter or something.
Bro, it's like this. It's like the third time this afternoon a like single engine propeller plane is like come like barreling towards us. Like it sounds like I'm in like a World War II movie and I'm gonna get bombed.
I used to tell my sister that I'd hope a plane would crash into my house so I would get the insurance for a rebuild.
Shit.
Hmm.
But anyways, man, like it came close. I was like, okay, I originally wanted 15 points. I was like, well, if we break the high of day, I'll take that one off. So I took one off
Yeah.
there. And then like I don't remember. I think I ended up getting like stopped over here. Like I moved the stop up a couple more points when we were just
Yeah.
like dancing around and I saw these three candles and I was just like, oh, this little like trident look, with the wicks. I'm
Hmm.
like, this doesn't look good. So I inched the stop up a little bit. I don't know why. I barely get tagged out and I literally said, that's going to haunt me.
Oh
Like,
man.
it sure.
Famous last words.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow, man.
And I was
Hate
worried
to see
too.
it.
I was worried too about that University of Michigan revised sentiment too. So like I didn't know what that was
Hmm.
going to actually, what that was actually going to entail, what it was going to bring us. So oh,
Yeah, right. The news was pretty light today. Aside from that, because we had PMI this morning at 9:45,
right.
and then prior to that, there was Canadian something. I thought. Oh no, wait, what was that?
There was PCE this morning too at
Friday.
8:30.
Oh, PCE. Okay, yeah, my bad. I was on the wrong day. It was Canadian GDP and then core PCE at 8:30.
Yep. Blame Canada.
And then I knew we had some Fed speakers at 9:15, but prior to at the open like that had all been like uh, water under the bridge, right?
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
I
Yeah.
wanted to be long biased, but I was short biased before the open.
Okay.
I was looking at the 10-minute as well, and I saw that we were basically CBC flipping short, and we were below the EMAs. But I know that being at all time highs, you know where is it potentially going to reverse at, right? So like I know that I've been complaining to you that I've been doing the same sort of things in the morning, waiting for like I have a plan,
Mm-hmm.
and then somehow the plan goes by the wayside and I'm like not executing my plan. But I was looking for potentially like I was thinking like, okay, so if we're gonna be closing under VWAP, then maybe we're gonna go short, but potentially we could be bouncing off like the closing print on the session, or maybe like the new session opening print, or like the 30-minute orb. Like I was just looking at all kinds of different like levels that we could potentially be respecting. So I was like short bias, but I was already ready to go long again,
Okay.
which can be dangerous sometimes.
Yep.
But I think my biggest complaint to you recently was how I think if it wasn't necessarily like back to back, it was close enough where it felt like it was back to back. So like I was so eager to get into a trade that I'd wait for the first 1 minute candle to print, but then
Mhm.
I'd join the next minute, immediately.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
And so today I didn't do that. I had way better patience and discipline this morning.
Okay.
Um, so like what I wanted to see if we're going to have a bearish perspective was like um, closing under previous day low or VWAP, that sort of price action.
Yep.
But then when the first like um 2 minute printed as like a crazy doji, I'm like, okay, I have to have a strong close over like 230s for me to want to go long. Um, and then so I was just watching and watching. And then finally, around where you were going long on the 9:42 minute candle, I'd set a bid at 20 28 728.75. And bro, the bottom wick of that candle that you went long off of was 717. And it just, I got so frustrated. Um
Oh, because
I was
you tried to go long on this candle and you got missed it by a tick, right?
I went long. Let's see. No, the candle before
Oh,
your black candle.
I'm sorry. You're looking at ninja charts, aren't you?
Right now I'm looking at Thinkorswim, but
Oh, okay.
I was executing on the 1 minute because I told myself I have to look at the first 2 minutes, and I cannot zoom in any tighter until the first 2 minute prints. Okay, so that was like me trying to prevent myself from being too eager.
Okay, okay.
But given the chop that we were in, I was like, okay, if we close with strength above that pre-market like mini pivot that we had under those EMAs and stuff, like the well VWAP basically, right, and 728 area,
Mhm.
I was like, okay, strong close above that, then I'm definitely game to go long.
Okay.
So like, I set a bid at uh at 728, and part of my problem was, we've talked in the past, my momentum strategy is like the first red candle or the first opposing color candle,
Yeah.
and I didn't do that. I saw the a 1 minute candle with a wick, and I saw a second one of the wick, and I just bid hoping that that 728 would hold, or at least I could be respected. And then I was like, okay, well, if I get filled here, then I have VWAP, and I would hope that like 725s, like those 2 minute bodies would hold for some support. It just like it was a lot of hope, right? And it wasn't based on technicals entirely. Like, yeah, like the 2 minute bodies, the 725, 728 area, like that is technical in itself, but like I just deviated from the strategy. So after getting wicked out there, I was like, I wasn't fuming, but like, I was like, this is so frustrating. This is so frustrating. And it's funny because for the first time ever, I uploaded my recording session to YouTube, and I let it parse the subtitles,
Mhm.
and I uploaded it to Grok, all my subtitles. And then I was like, all right, so I recorded myself trading. I know you can't hear my tone of voice or anything, but can you perceive based on the language, in my script here,
Yeah.
what kind of emotions I might be encountering.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This was pretty
And
solid. Can I pull it
yeah.
up?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Perfect.
Yeah. Right here. So this is like see based on the text. And so like all of this is the text.
Hmm.
And then you know as I say, this is a lot to read, but I
Yeah, we
like
don't
to
have to like read it per se, but like the funny part that for me was how in the Grok perceived emotions, like if you scroll down to the third bullet point, frustration and disappointment,
Mhm.
strong language like damn it, bleep garbage. That's frustrating. Repeated multiple times,
Yeah.
highlighting frustrations, especially after getting stopped out or missing opportunities.
Yeah.
And so uh I was definitely tilted, but like not in like a ragey sort of way. I just like, dude, I was right, but my execution, even though I had set a bid, it just wasn't ideal. It wasn't the bid was on the 1 minute, and it wasn't on a first opposing color candle like I often try to do, no matter what time frame it is. And if I had waited for the first red candle to print on either the 1 minute or 2 minute, then that would have been a fantastic trade, because if I had bought on the way up rather than on the way down, it almost would have never, gone against me, right?
Mhm.
So that leads to, my frustration leads to me zooming into the 15-second time frame, and I'm like, these, the repeated frustrations of me saying that was garbage and stuff. Like I'm
Mhm.
zooming in and I'm losing perspective, man. I'm like, I'm itching for the 15-second, or I'm itching to get back in a trade, and then I'm like, I'm already frustrated because when I had looked at the 15-second prior, I'm like, okay, this is gonna happen, and then it happened. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And of course, I could have just executed in like the 1 minute or something, but I got pigeonholed. And so by the time like 9:46 printed, I'm in this awful trade at like I think it's 39. entry. Yeah, 39, man. And it's right as that red 946 candle prints. And I'm thinking to myself, this is impulsive. And I wrote that even. I wrote this is impulsive. And I had an opportunity to cut break even, but I didn't. And then I knew the writing was on the wall because this is an awful trade. It is so far from the 2 minute EMAs.
Yep.
And so I cut the trade like for half what I normally would. It was like 5 points. So there's some uh, paper cutting there, right?
Yep.
And then I go cuckoo, man. I go long again. The
Mm-hmm.
same exact freaking entry. Uh, okay, well, not exactly the same. It's 1 point lower, so 38.75, and it's like,
Oh, look
what are
at
you
you.
doing here?
Look at you go getting it on sale.
Yeah. Oh no, it's a discount, you know. And I'm just like, I've lost control of like any rational, I
Yep.
can't justify this entry in any way.
Yep.
Um, and I was like, prior to that, I was just thinking because of the paper cut, like maybe I should wait for consumer sentiment and just trade 5 micros.
Yep.
And like if I was listening to myself right here, it was completely one ear and out the other because that didn't happen because I'm slapping the ask and like with the micro or with the mini instead of micros. So it's like no way did I have enough leeway for this trade to work.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I get stopped out with per my max liquidation rules on Top Step. And then what do you know? It starts running, man. And it just like it was eating me up. It was eating me up. So yeah, man. Uh I gotta work on I mean I had it, for the early part of the day, like I had the discipline. Like I was like I was full on like, okay, I'm following the rules, and then as soon
Yep.
as the first trade went against me, it just like I got like a PTSD situation. And then it got away from me like in a hot minute.
For
It was
sure.
rough.
For sure, dude.
Yeah.
Totally get it, man. I've been living through the exact same thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was that trade or whatever there where um what you call it, that didn't like play out well.
Mhm.
And then I did take a long trade. Where did I take a long trade? I think I took a long trade like up here. It might have
Mhm.
been. You know what I mean? And this was no. Let me get to the 2 minute because this looks different. Uh, no, it was over here. I think. Yep. Yeah, it was over here off of like the
Oh, I think I
this.
remember that one.
Yeah, and so this one was pretty good. I think
Mhm.
if I
'Cause that's
remember.
the ore breaking base. Mhm.
Hold on, bro. Nope, it was pre-market high. It wasn't this one. It wasn't this one because
Oh,
because I
okay.
because I
My
only
bad.
I only got one contract off. I only got one contract off, whatever, and then I hit the other one for the break even stop. So, um, my entry was like right in here, like 94,
Okay.
93. I got
Mhm.
15-point scale, and then oddly enough, if I remember this one correctly, the scale, I heard the scale go off before the chart showed it, which was weird.
Mhm.
And then moved my stop up, whatever, and got stopped. Then didn't trade like for a bit, like hesitated in both of these areas, and then this is where like I had my undoing for the day. Um,
Mm.
oh wait, hold on, actually, like if I want to give the full run through, I should probably give the full run through. So
Yeah. Okay, so it's the one on the ore breaking base, right? At like
yeah,
10:30ish? Okay.
yeah. Let me find that picture with the 1, 2, 3, and I will literally just like show people the exact trades. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so then I think that we're holding higher, and I'm pretty sure this is the. Is this the 2 minute? Where? How do I tell which frame I'm on here? This is stupid. I'm pretty sure this is a 2 minute.
I think it's a 2 minute.
Yeah.
It's just it's a
Yeah,
2 minute for
it's a
sure.
2 minute because I just was on this, right? So
Mhm.
then,
Yep.
okay, so then a little while later, after I see this orb high breaking base, I think that we're like reclaiming pre-market high. I legitimately was like, hey, I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna be patient, and like I was looking at the 10-minute chart, like everything, and I was like thinking, hey, and so from a patience perspective, this was a pretty good entry, and like they did try to defend, and then it failed, right? But
Yeah.
like in reality, I should have been, much more concerned with this. But I don't know. I just was like, oh, well, like, okay, we kind of have this little like downtrend here, but we're kind of just like in this big whole flag right here, and we're gonna kind of like push up. Looking at VIX and the other things that I use, like normally, this makes no
Yeah.
sense. It was just literally like Joe wants to go higher because it's been going higher, and so that will be the trade, like with the trend, and it'll just be easier, right?
But yeah, dude, it's like that recency bias, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So
But
then,
like the two
yeah,
minute, you have the 1036 and the 1038 candle both have wicks, and you can't
yep.
close over any of the prior 2 minute candles. Like it's just wicking below those, so it's like signaling, they're pumping the brakes or something, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's times too though where like this kind of works. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I mean, obviously this had just like spiked up and then it pushes and then it spikes again. But like, okay, like I mean, this is a good example. Like, look at this upper wick, and then
Yeah.
they still pushed higher, but they didn't close higher, and so that was the high of day. And I guess I should have been like more just aware of that, right? It was like
Hmm.
that this was the initial balance high because this was around 11 a.m. And
Yeah.
so now we're really kind of like looking like we're stuck.
Hmm.
And maybe there was just a part of me that was like, don't miss another move, and I don't know, but I wasn't really thinking that at the time. Like, I know I wasn't thinking, oh, you get in. I just remember thinking, oh, well, if we come down close to the orb high, I'll put this bid in here, and like thinking about like all of this across and being like, yeah, I did a good job. I took a bid entry. Well, like I did do that part right, but
Yeah.
the trade idea failed. It wasn't that strong of an idea, so fine. And then, I saw this sort of like bounce and I was like, okay, like I just got wicked out. Like they're just, I think I even drew a fib from like this little leg or whatever.
Hmm.
In my head, I made it work and I was like, yep, okay, you just got wicked out. Like you just got
Yeah.
taken out. They just swiped you. It's going back, V-shaped correction type business. And then
Hmm.
no. And it was
Yeah.
just like insta stop, like friggin', oh, that's frustrating. And then
Yeah.
like and then here, whatever. I saw this candle break down lower. I saw it popping back up. I looked at there was now gonna be because here was the low. And so really it was the inverse of this. I kind of recognized
Yeah.
like what was wrong. Because look, they can't
Hmm.
close below that. They can't close below that. They can't close they wick below, but they can't close below that. And the same thing, they were like popping up and I looked at the timer, it was only a few seconds left. And I'm like, okay, so this and honestly, where this like closed down and like kind of just did this little scoop, I didn't even realize that it went red on me. It must have happened so fast because I
Yeah.
remember telling you,
Or maybe you were just like so focused on the aftermath of it working, because I've been there too, where it's like, yeah, I perceived that it never went red against me, or whatever, like, or it was never green, and I was just instantly dead.
yeah,
But yeah, I know what you mean.
yep, and then
But you reverse martingale yourself.
yeah, yeah, well, yeah, I went in heavier, and then I just ended up
Yeah.
like scaling out, and I think this one was like. This is like the majority of the position, which is stupid because this is like 15 points, whatever it is.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, once I saw this one move up, and I'm like, oh, well, you know what? I'll just leave it right here, and I don't care if I get stopped because this puts me like back break even on the day. And then like,
Yeah.
dude, that's literally, uh, I mean, that's like right here, And in the grand scheme of things, that's fine, right? Because like, look, it came back down, but
Hmm.
it was like that podcast with the guy who turned like what like 27K or something into like 50
Yeah.
million.
Hmm.
He says too, like if you make money, by accident or by gambling, it's you should consider it gone because one way or another, you're gonna lose. You're gonna give back to the market, right? And
Yeah. What was the conversation that you and I had?
today, which one?
Yeah. After that trade, when you
Oh,
showed me your entries.
oh, bro, you said, "What's the plan?" Are you going to shut it down for the day, or are you going to try
Mm-hmm.
to get more money? And I should have shut it. I should have shut it down for the day, because
Yep.
then I attempted to go long up here, and I blew my accounts, dude. I just was like, yep, and fucking just let it go way too far.
Yeah.
So after getting back to basically break even, I just scrapped it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So your message to me, let's see, it's 10, 11, 12 o'clock, I think.
11:09 right here. I just
Yeah.
won. I couldn't type it.
So
I'm like, what the fuck is
yeah,
English?
well, so at 11:59, basically, you mentioned flagging up here near highs, and I didn't see that message until a little bit afterwards.
Yeah, it was, the chart looked like this before that. I think
Hmm.
before that candle closed down. Yeah, the chart was, maybe it was like this. It was forming. It was pushing up here.
Yeah, and so that's the good. Sometimes the good thing about not being at the chart when something happens
Mm-hmm.
is that you're not as married to the idea of whatever might be happening, like
Mm-hmm.
watching it in real time. Because if I had seen what you saw when you mentioned that to me, I might have been, you know what? Yeah, I think so. But because I didn't see that until several minutes later, um, I perceived. I think it was on the 12-minute. Uh, let's see. I gotta make sure I'm on the right time frame here. The 12-minute.
I love that
The
12-minute
five
time
minute
frame.
CBC. Yeah, the 5-minute CBC flipped at 12 p.m. and that was a pretty strong 2-minute candle as well. And then I messaged you. This looks like an A plus setup from a reversal perspective.
Oh, dude, it is. It so is, man. It so
And
is.
then so like the first green 5-minute candle or like any of the green 2-minute candles right after that, like if you had just been patient, because that was like perfect support and resistance from where you were just coming off of. And yeah, so like that was I mean, it was a good read on my part, but like I said, if I had been watching live, I might not have had that same conclusion.
Yeah, I would love to rewatch this, honestly, because, dude, I'm in here and like I watch this. I'm in on this. Actually, where do we go to default? Yeah, I'm in right here, which is
Hmm.
stupid, dude. I mean, like, but but I was just I did put more thought into it. I was like, well, wait a second, right? Like, if I look at this chart and I see like, okay, we just kind of wick down here, and I'm like, well, and then for whatever reason, my dumbass is like, what about this leg of the move? Oh shit, we
Ah.
just tapped the 61 fib. They've been playing fibs a lot lately. They've been playing fib games. I'm thinking,
Yeah.
yeah, this shit gonna work. This shit gonna work. Joe's
Mhm.
going to the bank on this one. No, Joe's going to fucking soup kitchen on this one, dude. Like, oh, dude. Oh, it was so
Oh
dumb.
man.
And then it goes green once, and I'm like, man, it's real.
That's the worst part of when you get in a position and then you get that itty bitty bit of like copium. That's like, okay, it's the split second decision where it's break even or slightly green, and you have the chance to just cut it flat. But then also in that same split second, that little like voice inside your head's like, nah, dude, this thing's gonna run. This is gonna work in your favor. You're a genius. You were right after all. And then pop. Nope.
Yeah, dude. Like, for real, for real,
Yeah.
for real. That's
Yeah.
exactly how it went. Not once, but twice. And then
Yeah.
when it closed like this, dude, when this candle came up, I remember thinking, I mean, dude, I swear to God, it was like it hung out right here at this level for like
Hmm.
35 seconds. Like, it felt like the majority of this 2 minute candle was right here at the top, you know? And I'm
Yeah.
sitting there like, I gotta cut this. This ain't gonna work.
Hmm.
I gotta cut this. This is not gonna work. Something's not right. It doesn't feel right. Whatever. And dude, like if you, we know it goes down, but like looking at it like
Mhm.
this, you're just like, eh, you know, like.
Yeah, but do me a favor and look at the 5 minute.
Okay, hold on. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show like highlight this area.
Okay.
That way, when I go to the
hmm
5, I know like
Yeah. Okay.
what we're looking at.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
So 5 minute CBC flip,
I don't think
and
it.
then
What time did I enter? I
after that candle, I think, unfortunately.
I entered on that candle, the one that flipped the CBC. It looks like this is 1204.
Okay.
The
Well,
1204.
12:04 is after the flips. So the CBC flip was 12 o'clock candle. I thought you entered it on the next one. So you entered where I was thinking like was prime short.
Let me see on the. Let me look at this on the 1 minute real quick, cause
Okay.
yeah, yep. I think my entry is over here at 1203. So then when the 1204 candle closes, I entered 03, and then the 5 minute candle closes bad, like closes down,
Yeah.
and that's where you can see me CBC flip like there on the 5. I gotta watch the 5 more, bro. I don't watch the 5 all that often. Usually it's like the 2 and the 10.
I like it a lot because I feel like when we're in chop, I can often rely on it. Well, I guess it just depends on which time frame has like the least wicks, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But like if the 10 and the 5 minute both look like decent to me, then I can usually rely on the 5 minute a lot for like my confirmation anyway.
It makes sense, man. I mean, you talk about the 5 minute all the time when we're having like discussions, or just like messaging back and forth. I just need to watch it more often. If I was looking at the 5 minute before I entered, like
hmm
this does not look good.
Yeah.
This does not look good enough for me to be like, I don't know about this. Let me wait one more candle. Because if that's all that I had done, I'd have been like,
Mhm.
well, it's trying to hold that EMA there a little bit, but you see the buyings there, but I don't know. Let me wait a little more.
Yeah.
That
So
don't look so
so
good
check
either.
your DM and look at the link, and if you can either share those pictures or like recreate them on the chart.
My DM.
Yeah, I just sent you a link to our conversation, like higher up in our history.
Oh, yep. Oh, yeah, you mean like this.
Yeah, and just like yeah, there you go.
That's a 2 minute.
hmm So this is where I was telling you that I had gone short on Sim
Oh,
on
yep.
that first candle, the red arrow.
Okay, on this one. Yep.
Yeah, but I was being a total jerk, and I was like going crazy on size. So like this was stupid, but like the perspective of the short trade was still there regardless of the size,
Yep.
and I cut it break even on the second candle.
777. So that's right here, right? 1350. You were. Let me see.
No, it should be
My time, right? 1322.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm on the 5 minute. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, right here. Yep. 13.
Oh, I guess I'm fast forwarding a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
aren't I?
Yep.
Okay, okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah.
But so
I was already blown. I was already blown up before you shorted.
yeah, yeah, okay. But then on the next picture that where those boxes were, and then like the multiple arrows.
Yep.
So like the first box, that was when you went long on the top there, and I was like, I was able to
Yes.
just instantly see that. For me, that looked clear as day. That's like an A plus setup for me. You have a big candle that's closed below or closing through wicks, and then the next opposing color candle entry right there, and then we see it happen again. In which that was around that was orb, right? Yeah, that was the orb where it bounces off of barely for just a little bit. But then
Yeah.
that box extends over, they just can't close it above 800.
Yep.
And I did mention in group, you know, before hindsight, gave it to us, but I was mentioning in group that the 5-minute buyer's bid was stepping down. And when that happens, whether the seller's ask is stepping up or coming down, like when we see that coming down, like that just means they're not as strong as they used to be. And maybe those are people that were like just getting out of positions, right?
Yeah. This one right here, I think we mentioned, I think I might have mentioned like this was the triple top, like before the VWAP
Hmm.
like drop here.
Yeah.
This one for sure was like, I remember when I saw this one, I thought like this move that we got, I thought was going to happen
Yeah.
here because like we had this push up, this rejection, this doji candle. I thought it was going to happen here. And then when it bounced from here, I was kind of surprised. I was like, huh.
Yeah.
But then when it couldn't break any higher, it was the same thing and it just fell lower. And then this surprised me too, dude. This was like an aggressive rip. Like
Yeah.
look,
Well, that the Trump um, tweet or something, or was there some type of Trump news? I thought.
that was at 1340. Let me I'm gonna scroll
I think it
back
was
up.
something about no, we're the talking with Canada. It's like off the table now, or something like that, about trade deals. If not, it might have just been
Yep.
shortly afterward, but
Yep.
that was
Yep.
that was when it dumped.
Yep. 145 is when the news hit. So this was yep. Yep, that was it. That was the news. So so that kind of makes sense then. That makes me feel a little better because I was like, seeing this, right? Under normal circumstances, when you have that we like break down, we touch VWAP and then we immediately we pushed over, we broke that pivot and we closed over it.
Yeah,
Like,
and I'll keep it real, man, because I was in a sim short again right there, and I flip flopped, like, because originally I was short with a really prime entry,
yeah.
but then when it popped off VWAP like that and it closed higher, I'm like, oh shoot, maybe they're actually gonna put in a lower high here and then like maybe retest high day or something,
Yeah, let's
and then no.
no, not at all, dude. Honestly, like I remember just thinking like, dude, this sucks.
Yeah.
Let's look at. I want to look at the same time frame. This is the 1340 candle. I just want to look at ES at the same time frame. 1340. Yeah, right here. All right, so ES though still looked weak. That's at
Hmm.
least like one thing there. ES did still look a little bit weak. It wasn't like the same
Yeah.
pop. And then it closes lower. It's still weak, and then boom, flushes. And that's crazy,
Yep.
dude. That's a what 12 and a half, 12 and a quarter point candle on ES in 2 minutes. That's huge.
Oh yeah. But look, speaking of weakness, so like look at 13, like 1 o'clock to 1:10. At least for me on Thinkorswim, that's like three gray candles in a row.
Yep, right here.
That's never pretty.
Nope.
That's
Oh,
never pretty. In fact, dude, I remember really early on when you and I started talking, there was this one situation where we saw something like that happen, and it was like this perfect stair stepping of candles, but all like super tall wicks, but like virtually no body. And then finally, uh, it like one of the candles was a lower high,
mm-hmm.
and then it just dumped. And so like ever since then, like I just know in my head, like whenever you see something like that, and it's like the bodies are not changing, the wicks are getting taller, and then the wicks are getting smaller, or just like there's not much meat on the bone there. It's like that is super weak.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, sure enough, huh?
I bet you that moved really slow too. If we watch those candles back in real time, they probably moved really slow, just kind of like,
Oh,
like just.
it must have been awful, and I probably would have been tilted because, like, for example, the two candles before, that was a decent move short. That's like uh,
Sorry
five
about the
points.
DOS.
If it's like 5 points depending on where you got in, and that's another complaint I have sometimes if I'm like rambling to myself is like, I hate when there's a sharp pop, and then you think a move's gonna happen, and then like then those three dojis print, and it's like slow as molasses.
Oh yeah, dude. I
Because
mean,
like you're thinking, oh, Momo's here, let's go, right? Let's get into trade, and then it's just like epic snooze fest,
yeah,
trying your patience.
yeah, for real. Honestly, I would be sitting there like, one candle, two candle, three candles. Am I just gonna get stopped? Like, is this just gonna like just pop up and get me now? You know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And nope, it just did. It continued to fall, continued to fall, continued to fall.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a fucking day, dude. What a fucking day. Not fun.
Yeah. So I'm reading Principles by Ray Dalio, and
Yeah.
I'm about 25% into it right now, but I would give it a solid recommendation based on what I've been reading so far to anybody.
Okay. I'll check it
Um,
out. I think I got it on
yeah.
Audible when you told me about it like last week. I just haven't
Uh-huh.
got to it. Haven't got to it.
Yeah. So he's got like a systematic approach to problem solving. It's pretty methodical. He's got like a 5 bullet point plan. Figuring out what your goal is, and then just like architecting a solution on how to achieve that goal.
Mm-hmm.
So if your goal is buying a house, then what are the steps that are required to do that? Okay, well the steps are this. Okay, but then you have problems with step one. So what are the well, how do you um how do you achieve step one? You
Right.
get help from somebody, like take a loan or whatever it is. And then one of the things that I really love, which I don't have the quote up, but it might be in that screenshot that I sent you. Actually, let me look at our search history really quick. But um, the question that he always asks on each step is like, um, "How do you know that your idea is valid?" Is like because of back testing. You've gotten results for your back testing,
Mm-hmm.
or you've gotten confirmation from people. You've been validated from people that are very experienced and are knowledgeable. That kind of stuff.
Yep.
So, I just thought that was a really, really cool, uh, wording on that because, like, I can apply that to anything, and especially trading. Like, why is your thesis valid? Because of back testing? Well, okay, if it's because of back testing, then heck yeah, you got a good trade on your hands. But if it's just like impulsive, you have the feels, you think it could do this, there
Mm-hmm.
was no back testing, and like, then it's invalidated.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, so
Makes sense, bro.
it's a good read.
Keep elaborating on that point for a minute, because my daughter's just pulling in, and I know my dogs are
Oh,
about
okay.
to go complete ape shit. So I'm gonna go on mute. Go ahead. You got
All
it.
right, all good. I'll pull it up. So give me a second here, guys, but I'm gonna pull up the quote really quick. Uh, Ray Dalio. Searching our chat history book. Okay, so here it is. Um, nope, I'm gonna have to just pull it up on my phone because I can't find it in our DM history here. It's a great quote for sure, and
Oh,
it's something that we should all be looking at. So, um,
we need to
still
give
can't find it. Yeah,
we need to give Samson a shout out here.
yeah.
Our faithful listener. Most of the time he
Faithful
stays awake.
listener mascot.
Yeah, most of the time he stays awake for the session. So
Yeah.
appreciate him. I
But we'll link the book in the comments, for anybody interested.
Yeah, yeah. I also, dude. I was thinking about something too, and I'll have to find it too, because I think like it was an interesting perspective.
Hmm.
But a lot of us for sure have come across a lot of different material, and like you ever start something, you ever start like down a road and then not really finish it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
take for example like the House of Stacks, right? Like people like pay the fee, they join the group or whatever, and then and I get it, because it's kind of like, oh, where do I start? But then like if you don't, you get instructions on like where to start, and then they don't want to watch the videos, or they don't want to do anything. It's just basically like, yeah, but I want to skip to the part where I start making money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they want the spoon-fed alerts that work every single time, the no effort profit.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, uh,
While you're looking up that,
yeah.
I'll read a quote from the book, which I
Go
thought was
ahead.
great that I highlighted. It says, "People who tolerate problems are worse off because without the motivation to move on, they cannot succeed." In other words, if you are motivated, you can succeed even if you don't have the abilities, i.e., talent and skills, because you can get help from others. But if you're not motivated to succeed, If you don't have the will to succeed, the situation is hopeless. And so that's why I often say, when tolerance leads to compromise, you eventually fail. And so, therefore, when I tolerate impulsive behavior in trading, not setting limit orders, chasing, etc., then obviously I'm setting myself up for failure because I'm not following my own rules.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
No,
yeah, great read.
that makes sense.
I'm enjoying it.
That makes sense. This one was like, this dude was talking about getting a real alarm clock. It had a whole bunch of different things, and it was like, take your phone out of the bedroom. Millennials are the first generation that sleeps in a feed, not a bed. Then you wonder why your
Mhm.
brain feels foggy, etc. Anxiety hits you before breakfast. You're not tired. You're waking up in someone else's life in your head. Put your phone in another room and feel what it's like to start a day that belongs to you. I was like, okay, like that's interesting concept, right? And then this
Yeah,
one,
I've heard of that before.
yeah, like I think there's a lot to that. A lot of people talk about that, like not sleeping with their phone in their room or like actually turning the phone off.
Yeah, or like the TV too, because like your memory and your brain is associating the space you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So if the bedroom is only for sleep, then when you go to bed, you're gonna
Yeah.
fall asleep pretty quickly.
Not only though, but yes.
Yeah,
You
as
gotta get
opposed to like
dressed
TV at the
somewhere.
end of the
Yeah,
bed.
just kidding. Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
that too, right? Especially for like people if you have a hard time falling asleep and stuff. But it literally said, stop developing yourself, start finishing things. We're stuck in update mode, courses, webinar, personal growth overload, but no execution. It's a trap. You feel productive, but you're spinning your wheels. Forget becoming your best version. Become a finished project. One action equals one result, not one more notebook full of plans. Dude, and that one resonated with me pretty well because I
I
feel
love
like
that.
I feel like I have a lot of information, like in terms of like things to study or things to go do, and then it's like I spend time reviewing or like doing or learning or watching like new videos instead of like, hey, let me just like not do anything and go master the content. I've either already
Yeah.
paid for or I've already bookmarked or whatever. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%, dude.
So
Yeah.
like, and I need to do that. I also too like this just made me think of it is I tend to like put my phone on like color filters. I don't know if anybody else with an iPhone does that, but it essentially turns my phone like black and white, if you can see that. So
Oh, yeah.
it's like a very, very, very small hint of color, which honestly, when you look at like a Thinkorswim chart on my phone, it actually looks pretty cool. Although when I
Yeah.
tried to send you a screenshot one time and it wouldn't work, but
Right. Yeah, I remember that.
like this is the NQ chart, and you can see just like it's barely like pink and green, like barely. But like that actually helps a lot with reducing like the desire to like stay hooked on like scrolling, which I think
Yeah.
gets me hooked on like, oh, let me watch one more video. Oh, let me go watch so and so's new YouTube video. Oh, let me go see what this trader's doing. You know?
Right. Well, that goes. It's similar to what I was saying in a House of Stacks session I did quite a while ago. Um, when you switch from stop passive learning and start active learning. The
Mm-hmm.
passive learning is good in the starting phases when you don't have the information, but at a certain point, you have enough information to actually start doing. So stop watching the videos and start with the actual back testing. Start with the actual paper trading or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And then the one other thing too. I mean, this one for just the traders, out there, or for anybody, it says ditch the dream job, get a boring, stable job for now to calm your nervous system. It's not forever; it's your base. Millennials were sold the idea that work has to feel meaningful. Oh shoot! It just minimized. Then you wonder why your brain feels foggy, your libido's dead. Oh, hold on. And then
Dude, I've almost heard this exact same stuff. Maybe there's multiple people that have said it, but like you'll have to
yeah,
share the link with me or whatever. But
yeah, it's probably just somebody who just like copied and pasted something, and I don't know how this came up in my feed. Sending it to you now, but
Right.
meaningful doesn't work without food, rent, and a dentist. Get grounded. Money isn't selling out; it's securing your future dream. And then there's one about like stop spiraling into your trauma. Therapy matters, but endless Endless self-digging is just mental procrastination. You're not a wounded child. You're a grown adult with a past just like everyone else. But not everyone turns their pain into identity. Millennials were sold that over-analysis is growth. Often it's just in avoidance dressed up as insight. I thought that one was pretty good too.
Facts. Yeah.
I don't spend
That's
much
excellent.
time in that like dwelling on the past shit, but I get it. I get it.
Yeah. No, I try to, but I like I know people that are that way where they just can't get over whatever the one thing is, and they're it's like not necessarily self pity, but it really holds them back from growth.
For sure. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. There's a lot to it, dude. A lot to it.
Yep.
All right,
Well, bro,
my
who would
goal.
have thought we'd be uploading on a Friday, huh?
No, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought this either, but hopefully this works out for us, and maybe more people are interested and have more time over the weekend to check us out. If you're still here with
Yeah.
us, give us a like. We would appreciate it, especially a sub. That would help the channel out a lot. Dude, what are your goals for this coming week?
I gotta rein in my discipline, man, and I'm 100% on board with just taking the base hit and not hoping for any kind of runner. And I'm actually even considering just a one and done. Like if I just get a hit a green trade, then I'm just out for the day, and that's it. And just reserve some mental capital, not even look at the charts,
Yeah,
and just be content with making that fast money because, like, in all reality, it's fast money
yeah,
when we're
absolutely.
trading.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
It
and if
is.
it and if you can anybody who makes that money, in a few minutes where other people are spending, their whole day trying to make that amount of money, and I can just walk away and just go read a book or do something else, then that's why we're trading is not only for the monetary freedom, but for the freedom of time to do whatever we want.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. That's great,
Yep.
man. That's great. I would like to not blow any accounts.
Yep.
That's step one. I would definitely like to
Hmm.
do that. I would like to hopefully be able to watch at least like one webinar and I'm by watch I mean like actively learning in terms of like I was in school whatever and like pause it, take notes on what was just said and then like resume it. So it might, an hour
Yep.
long webinar might take me 2 hours to get through just with like the note
Hmm.
taking, but that's fine. I'd like to do
Yeah.
that. And then I'm with you, man. Just like base hits, nothing too crazy, and just like build it back. I got some TPT accounts or whatever, and so I'd like to try to pass those, get back to having some TPT funded accounts.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, man. Good
All right.
chat.
Thanks everybody for watching.
Hell yeah.
Appreciate you.
Yeah. Hopefully next week we'll have some good news for you all.
Sounds good.
See you guys.